Alright guys, so we have a continuation. So let's get into this. Before they could slit your throat with the knife they were holding, a big boom came out from the door. It was Bakugo and some of the Deku squad and some of the Baku squad. They started attacking the villains. Somehow they were able to track you to the villain's base. So that now they know where the base is, so they were able to fight off some of the villains. But it was hard to since they were on their own territory. Soon enough, they were able to grab you and get out. Of course, Bakugo got seriously hurt. And so did Denki. He was still bleeding out, so you had to fly him to the hospital as fast as you could. Even though he was wounded around your leg and your arms from the cuts. Because they cut you before. And you had a slight head injury and things were spinning around, but you wanted to get your loved one to safety. So you flew as fast as possible to the hospital. They met a nurse and they instantly took him in as fast as they could. Some of the Baku squad made it there too. And they were all in there resting, getting patched up and everything. So the police and some of the pro heroes asked you what happened, and you explained to them. And Mr. Aizawa was called to the hospital too. You explained to him too. They understand that was a new villain in town, and they were going after you two. They didn't understand why, but they wanted you guys to die. They were always trying to figure out why. They asked you if anyone hated you or anything to the point where they wanted to murder you. But you do vaguely remember saying yes. Because in your past when you was in middle school, you and your best friend had a crush on the same boy. This was before Denki. But when she found out you liked him, she took it way too far. She pulled on your wings to the point where she started crying out. But then she started arguing with you over the screaming, to the point where she pushed you off the roof, and you almost fell to your death. Because at that time you didn't know how to control your flying. So when he told this story to Aizawa, and Aizawa told the pro heroes, they were always on the lookout. You remember her name was Ayako Tsushimi. That's all you remember. Since they were still looking for Ayako and to question her about this. But other than that, you and Denki were in the hospital together. You got dismissed from a week since your injuries weren't bad, but Denki was still in the hospital for 2 months. Turns out he was in a coma. He was in a coma for another 4 weeks until he finally woke up. He remembered absolutely everything. The first thing as he woke up, the nurses called you. And the first time he saw you, he gave you a big, big kiss on the lips. You were so glad to see that he was okay. But you were still worried for your guy's safety. So, after 2 days in the hospital, Denki was able to come back. You had a little problem walking since the villains damaged your leg while you was passed out. So he was stumbling around most of the time. But he wasn't worried about that. He was more worried about Denki. And then when he finally got better, he took you out to this nice restaurant. You guys had a great time. But then out of nowhere, you hear a big boom. Denki, since you guys are upcoming to be pro heroes, you wanted to protect the people, even if it means interrupting a date with some really good food. So you took Denki and flew over to the crime scene. There you see Ayako she was holding twins with access to their throats. This is what Ayako was saying. Hey, nice to see you again, listener. You monster, you cried out. Put them down. Of course she didn't listen. She said, "Not if you fight me like a woman." I still remember after what all you did after all these days. After all these years. I can't believe that what you did. You was absolutely furious. You're taking this way too far. It was over some high school crush. And you're the one who pushed me off the roof. Everyone was shocked to hear that. Huh, really? Said Ayako. Huh. Well, after you little accident, because you couldn't help but fly away. My crush rejected me after that. I got kicked out of school. I went poor. I went in debt, all because of you and your selfishness. I can't stand you. You're a monster. A monster to me. But then all of a sudden, he said, "Put them down." Put them down, he said. "All right, fine. But we're taking this one-on-one. No help at all." He started approaching her. He took a long, deep breath and said, "Let's do this." You were tossing and turning around, fighting each other. She was able to stab you a couple of times in the leg, where it hurted, but you kept fighting. And again, until you finally was able to pin her down and put her in handcuffs. But she had 3 Nooms working inside her, and Denki was holding them off. When you had her to the ground, you ran into an alleyway and called for backup. Sooner or later, some pro heroes and some students in training showed up, and they took down the villains. Alright guys, that's it for part 2. Hope you enjoyed.